Warning, spoilers for the Star Wars series Andor following. This will be my last spoiler warning. As of tonight, the show will have ended 1 week ago, thus ending my 1 week of warnings. My thumbnails after this point may also contain spoilers, just so you know. Ready? Let's go. During Season 1 of Andor, I made a Star Wars theory or two, the first of which speculating that Luthen Rael and Clea Markey had a master and apprentice type of relationship, possibly as a Sith or former Jedi. Well, I was wrong about that, and I'm okay with it because what we got was far more compelling, and making Luthen Rael and Clea Markey either Sith or Jedi would have probably tainted Andor. I love the way it turned out. These were just ordinary people fighting the odds against a fascist regime that had the power to crush anyone in its way. It's something we don't see much of in Star Wars, if at all. There are always Jedi or Mandalorians there to help right the wrongs. While those make for great action scenes, it isn't what Andor was about, nor Rogue One. But with that speculation, I did get one thing right. Then there was another speculation about Mon Mothma's husband, Perrin Fartha, that I made that almost made it to the screen, according to Tony Gilroy himself. And we will talk about those two Star Wars theories and why they are important to the story of Andor. Look at you, enjoying Star Wars and my content. Now look at your screen. See that button that says subscribe? Move your thumb to it with minimal effort and press it. Doing so helps me gauge which content to create, and the sooner we get to 50,000 subscribers, the sooner I can make more content and even better editing. I'm not looking to be the biggest Star Wars channel on YouTube, just big enough that I can free up some time. You know, you may think, I'm only one person. I don't matter. Well, you do matter to me. So subscribe and let's see what happens. Okay, let's move along. Move along. Funny story, actually. I was at the Cincinnati Comic Expo a few years ago. It was crowded, and I was in the custom Mandalorian armor that I made. Kids wanted pictures with me, and I was happy to do it. Who doesn't want to feel like a celebrity? Anyway, I was walking through the crowded aisle, and there was a stormtrooper with the 501st Legion blocking my path. Mad respect for those guys, so don't take this wrong. When I approached him, I just said, "Move along, move along." He got so mad. "Hey, buddy, watch where you're going." That's what he said to me. I smiled beneath my helmet and carried on. I mean, I'm a Mandalorian. What's a stormtrooper to me? I then came across Bo-Katan Kryze, or someone cosplaying as her. I pulled out my darksaber and flashed it in front of her and said, "Missing something?" She also got pissed. I love doing that stuff. Anyway, on with the topic. Throughout Season 1 and Season 2 of the Star Wars Andor series, I felt something wasn't exactly what we were being shown when it came to Luthen Rael and Clea Markey, particularly the relationship between them. So it clicked in my head that we were being misled, that things were not in fact what they seem. So I made several videos about how Clea is actually the leader and Luthen was a coordinator of sorts. We didn't see Luthen strategizing the way we did Clea, and there were many instances where Luthen was losing his cool and Clea talked him down. Well, after Andor finished, just last week, Tony Gilroy made many comments about the show, one of which was that Clea is actually Axis. I didn't gloat, and I'm not gloating now. I tend to get about 60% of my predictions and Star Wars theories correct. That isn't a great track record. Like they say, even a broken clock is right twice a day. But in this case, I breathed a sigh of relief. But this isn't about me. This is about the importance of making Clea Markey Axis in the story of Andor. And at the end, I'll tell you the one and only thing that got on my nerves about this show. It isn't that big of a deal, but it has to do with Nemik's manifesto. Trust me, it isn't enough to think twice about. Throughout Andor, the only ones to use the codename Axis were those of the Imperial variety. We never heard a rebel or a rebel cell refer to anyone in their ranks as Axis, but we all assumed it was Luthen Rael. He was the prominent figure putting together teams. He was the one most rebel cells had contact with, including Saw Gerrera. He was the one ensuring Mon Mothma was protected, although it was Mon Mothma and Tacoma that really took care of the business of her funds, until Tacoma became a liability. Then it was Luthen Rael that pulled on his cojones and dealt with the issue. I don't think he massaged his cojones, just gently squeezed. Yuck, never mind. So Luthen was the face we saw interacting with the rebels. Kleya only had limited interaction with the would-be rebellion in Season 1. She advised Velsartha on a couple occasions, but that's about it. In Andor Season 2, we see Kleya Marki more involved. She even interacts with Cassian Andor more frequently, and strategies were made, thus confirming Luthen Rael as the recruiter and Kleya as the one strategizing everything. Kleya may not have been Luthen's boss or master, but she would be the Axis Dedra Meero and Supervisor Hirt were hunting, while capturing Luthen Rael would have been a big score. By the time Dedra figured out by name, the rebellion was already forming on Yavin 4. It was too late to take him out and to make any kind of impact. But not capturing Kleya Marki along with Luthen, and even botching the Luthen Rael arrest, Kleya was still out there. But there is also the fact that by this time, Kleya and Luthen were no longer the leaders of the rebellion that they had once been. They were now viewed as outsiders and detriments, loose cannons, if you will, or fringe rebels that caused more harm than good. And by the way, who else wanted to slap the shit out of Bail Organa like a common Roman prostitute in these scenes? Dude should have no say at all when it comes to Luthen and Kleya. He almost got Mon Mothma captured or killed, and it was Luthen's contact with Cassian Andor that saved her. Now you don't want to listen to Cassian and save Kleya? Dick. The man doesn't get the point that he assassinated his own ability to judge character by hiring an Imperial mole. Geez, dog, sit down and let the grown-ups talk. Yeah, I know someone will make a comment about how Cassian Andor was a Luthen Rael recruit, and he was loyal to him and Kleya and blah, 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 and they couldn't trust him because of that. But he saved Mon Mothma. He made the Aldhani heist work, and he witnessed the Gorman massacre. Okay. Enough about that. Whew, I need to calm down. Anyways, Kleya and Luthen were living the high life at the beginning of Andor, adorned with all the trappings of the high society world. By the end, they looked more like common folk, and when Cassian rescued Kleya, she was humbled down to peasant status, where she began as a child. Now, she was just a piece of the rebellion and not one of its founding members anymore. And this is important to show that the rebellion had its own little bureaucracy in the works, only one step higher than the bureaucracy within the Empire itself. Now the rebellion was being led by senators. Some of them were the same senators that watched Palpatine take power. So it shows the motivation of the rebellion to return the galaxy to the days of the Republic, the very thing that allowed Palpatine to slither in and seize control. By pushing the people who were leading on the front lines aside, such as Kleya Marki, Luthen Rael, and Saw Gerrera, the meaning of the rebellion became lost. It was no longer about the average person dealing with oppression. It was now about returning to power to those who lost it in the first place. The rebellion wouldn't even exist if it weren't for Kleya Marki, Luthen Rael, Saw Gerrera, and even Anto Kreegyr, with Cassian Andor as the linchpin between all of them. And this makes me understand why the show was made about Cassian Andor. When it was announced, I was curious as to why him. So, thank you, Tony Gilroy, for answering that for me. The other speculation I had during Andor Season 2 was that Perrin Firtha knew everything that was going on with Mothma. I had hoped we would see him acknowledge this and how he was actually protecting her on screen. Well, it didn't happen on screen, but Tony Gilroy, in another comment, confirmed that Perrin Firtha was well aware and he was someone Mon Mothma could have trusted. So her leaving her family to join the rebels on Yavin 4 hits even harder now that we know that little off-screen bit about Perrin. I do think that the story of Star Wars would have changed significantly had they actually shown this, and not necessarily for the better. Even though I was really onto something with Perrin Firtha, I'm glad they left it as an off-screen side note. The last bit is what I promised in the beginning. The one tiny thing that kind of gets under my skin about Nemik's manifesto, and that is how many times he says, "And remember this." Good Lord, man, how many things do you want us to remember? It seems like every point you make comes with the pretext, "Remember this." There's a freaking war going on. We can listen to your manifesto as many times as we need to. We don't need to memorize the whole thing. It's digital. It's all over the place. So, yeah, it is a big deal. Not really. It's not a big deal. I just wish he wouldn't have said it so many times. I know it was more for us as viewers to pay attention to what's going on in the real world, but okay, we will remember after the first time you say it. No, I don't want to talk about real world politics. Simply burn out on it. Let me know what you think of the things I predicted and how those things happening have influenced the way we see Andor and Star Wars as a whole. I do read all comments and respond to as many as I can, time permitting. And look back at your screen now. Slowly move your thumb to the subscribe button. Now press it hard. Also, give the video a big stupid thumbs up so I can see that you enjoyed it. Until the next time, may the Force be with you. Unless you're eating bologna. The Force doesn't like bologna.